The Vanishing Outpost. Dr. Maya Chin's fingers flew across the console as the station's alarms blared. Outside the reinforced windows of Kepler Station's command center, the night sky blazed with unnatural light as unknown vessels descended through the atmosphere. "Status report," she shouted, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around her. Lieutenant Rodriguez, the station's security chief, appeared at her side, his face streaked with blood from a gash above his eye. "Multiple ships, nothing like we've ever seen. They're deploying ground forces on the eastern perimeter. Communications array is down, and half the settlement is already dark." Maya swallowed hard. Kepler Station was humanity's farthest outpost from Earth, 8 light years beyond the official frontier and 3 months of travel from the nearest military outpost. They were alone. "Evacuation pods?" she asked, already suspecting the answer. "Targeted first. Whatever these things are, they know exactly what they're doing." The command center doors burst open as Dr. Ilani tumbled through, clutching the bleeding arm. They're inside the hydroponics dome. Not human. Some kind of insectoid species. She collapsed into a chair, her dark skin ashen with shock. "They're not killing everyone. They're collecting people." Maya's blood ran cold. The rumors she dismissed as frontier paranoia suddenly felt terrifyingly real. For the past decade, whispers had circulated about vanishing outposts, small settlements going silent without distress calls, found abandoned when ships finally arrived months later. Official reports blamed equipment failures, environmental catastrophes, or simply the harsh realities of frontier life. But Maya had seen the classified reports. As Earth Science Division's xenobiology expert, she had volunteered for this assignment partly to investigate those disappearances. Now, the truth was landing on her doorstep. "The QEV," she whispered, making a decision. "Rodriguez, hold them at the main corridor. Ilani with me." They sprinted down the emergency stairwell to the station's basement laboratory. The quantum entanglement beacon was a prototype, technically not even supposed to be here. Maya had borrowed it from Earth Science Division's Advanced Communications Lab, claiming it was for xenobiological research. In reality, it was her insurance policy. "What is that thing?" Ilani asked between pained breaths as Maya unlocked the laboratory vault. "Our only hope." The device was small, no larger than an old Earth laptop. Maya activated its power sequence as the building shook with what felt like an explosion from above. Unlike conventional communications, quantum entanglement doesn't travel through space. The paired particles react instantaneously, regardless of distance. "You mean someone can hear us?" "Right now, 8 light years out." Maya nodded grimly as the device hummed to life. "If this works, Earth will know exactly what's happening here, in real time." The laboratory door crashed open. Standing in the doorway was a creature out of nightmares, nearly 2 meters tall, with a chitinous exoskeleton and multiple compound eyes that reflected the emergency lighting in fractured patterns. Behind it stood more of its kind, armed with weapons that hummed with ominous energy. Maya slammed her palm on the activation panel, and the QEB's status light flashed green. The creature raised its weapon. "Too late," Maya said, a grim smile forming on her lips. "They already know you're here." The creature chittered something, and the world went dark. High Marshal Vrax of the Sarkoth Empire stood on the command deck of the harvester vessel, mandibles clicking with satisfaction as reports flooded in. Another successful acquisition operation. The primitive human settlement had fallen with minimal resistance, exactly as expected. "Status," he demanded, his translator converting the complex series of clicks and whistles into sounds his subordinates of various species could understand. Sub-Commander Telix, a newer addition to his crew, approached with the appropriate subservience, head tentacles lowered. "The collection teams report 87% of the biologicals have been secured, High Marshal. Resource extraction is at 40% of target. No significant resistance remains. Communications neutralized in the first strike, as protocol dictates. Their primitive radio array was destroyed before they could transmit any distress signal. Vrax's compound eyes gleamed with satisfaction. The Sarkoth Empire had perfected these harvesting operations over centuries. Find isolated settlements, strike with overwhelming force, collect all valuable resources, both organic and mineral, and disappear before the parent civilization could respond. They had harvested 12 species to extinction this way, and humans would eventually join that list. But not too quickly. The humans made excellent stock, adaptable, durable, and with interesting genetic combinations. The Bioengineering Division paid premium rates for human specimens, especially the young ones, and the unusual energy reading we detected. Vrax asked, remembering the anomalous scan results from the pre-strike survey. Telex's tentacles writhed uncomfortably. We traced it to their research facility, a device of unknown purpose. Our technicians are examining it now. Bring the lead researcher to me, Vrax ordered. I want to know what they were developing here. 20 minutes later, the security team dragged in a human female. Despite her obvious injuries, her eyes burned with a defiance that Vrax found amusing. Most species broke quickly once they understood their position in the universe's natural hierarchy. Your designation, he demanded, his translator converting his clicks into the harsh sounds of human speech. The human straightened despite her restraints. Dr. Maya Chen, Earth Science Division. Vrax felt a twinge of concern. An Earth human, this far out on the frontier. The Empire's intelligence suggested Earth humans rarely ventured personally to these distant outposts. What is your function here? He asked, keeping his tone casual. Xenobiology research, she replied coolly. Studying life forms on frontier worlds. And the device in your laboratory? The one emitting quantum-level disturbances. A small smile played across the human's face, an expression Vrax had learned to recognize as satisfaction. Something was wrong. Just a research tool. For analyzing subcellular structures, she said. Nothing important now that you've disabled it. Telex leaned closer to Vrax. High Marshal, I recommend immediate termination. Earth humans are unpredictable and known for deception. Vrax raised a limb for silence. Something about this human's demeanor triggered instincts honed through countless harvesting operations. She was hiding something significant. Take her to extraction, he ordered. Full neural scan. I want to know everything about that device. As the guards dragged her away, the human looked back over her shoulder. You have no idea what you've just done, she said, her voice eerily calm. They always say that, Telex commented after she was gone. Empty threats before the end. But Vrax wasn't convinced. Double our sensor sweeps, he ordered, and accelerate the harvesting operation. I want to be gone from this system within 8 hours. In the neural extraction chamber, Maya was strapped to an ominous-looking device with glowing neural probes. The Sarkoth extraction specialist adjusted various controls while explaining the procedure with disturbing detachment. This will map your neural pathways systematically. The process is extremely painful, and most subjects experience total cognitive collapse afterward. But we will have all your knowledge. Maya laughed, a harsh, unexpected sound in the sterile chamber. Before we start, I should tell you something about that device you found. The Sarkoth paused, compound eyes focusing on her. It's not a research tool. It's a quantum entanglement communicator. Military grade. Everything since your ships appeared in our skies. The attack, the harvesting operation, this conversation. It's all been transmitted to Earth Defense Command. In real time. The Sarkoth's exoskeleton paled visibly. Impossible. Such technology is theoretical at best. Your species is centuries away from practical quantum communication. You think Earth broadcasts all its technological developments? Maya asked, her voice growing stronger despite her injuries. We've known about your kind for years, found the remains of the colonies you harvested, gathered the evidence. Prepared. The extraction specialist slammed a limb onto the emergency communication panel. High Marshal, we have a situation. On the bridge, Vrax received the news with growing alarm. If the human was telling the truth, and the fear in his specialist's voice suggested she might be, then the Empire's greatest advantage had been neutralized. "Prepare for immediate departure," he ordered, abandoning the usual harvesting protocols. "Terminate all ground operations." "The extraction is only at 43% complete," Telex protested. "Leave it. Recall all personnel immediately." Vrax's mind raced through contingencies, and bring the human to the bridge. Minutes later, Maya stood before him again, still defiant despite the neural probes attached to her temples. "Is it true?" Vrax demanded. "This device transmits to Earth. Why don't you remove it and find out?" Maya challenged, referring to the small implant now visible behind her ear. Vrax hissed in frustration. Removing unknown technology from a living subject could trigger any number of security countermeasures. "Scan surrounding space," he ordered. "Maximum range." "Nothing detected, High Marshal," reported the sensor officer. "No ships within detection range." "See," Telex said. "The human is bluffing." Vrax wasn't convinced. "How long?" he demanded of Maya. "How long before Earth responds?" The human scientist glanced at the chronometer on her wrist. "Oh, I'd say about now." As if on cue, alarms blared across the bridge. The sensor officer's voice rose in panic. Multiple transit signatures. Massive energy spikes at coordinates 227.45. The view screen shifted to show space itself seemingly tearing open. Rifts glowing with blue-white energy split the darkness. Through these rifts came ships, human ships, not the clumsy transport vessels Vrax was familiar with, but sleek, predatory warships bristling with weapon systems the Empire's intelligence had never documented. "Impossible," whispered Telex. "They can't have responded so quickly. We're 8 light-years from Earth's nearest military outpost." "You really should have studied us better," Maya said, satisfaction evident in her voice. "Did you think we wouldn't develop contingencies after finding the remains of the first colonies you harvested? We've been waiting for you to reveal yourselves." The communications officer's console lit up with incoming transmissions. "High Marshal, they're hailing us on all frequencies." "Ignore it," Vrax snapped. "Evasive maneuvers. Prepare jump drives." The ship shuddered violently. Bridge lights flickered and died, replaced by the dull red glow of emergency systems. "What happened?" Vrax demanded. "Some kind of energy pulse," reported the engineering officer. "All primary systems are offline. Jump drive is non-responsive." The communications panel activated without the officer's input. A human voice, cold and precise, filled the bridge. "Sarkov vessel, this is Admiral Helena Reyes of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your attacks on human colonies end today. Your ship is disabled. Your harvesting operations are terminated. Prepare to be boarded." Vrax turned to Maya, who was now smiling openly. How did you respond so fast?" "The quantum entanglement communicator doesn't just send data," Maya explained. "It marks coordinates for the fold drives." "Fold drives," Telex echoed, confusion evident. "We don't just move through space," Maya said, her eyes locked on Vrax's. "We bend it." Through the view screen, Vrax watched in horror as smaller craft detached from the human warships, rocketing toward his vessel. In all his years commanding harvesting operations, he had never encountered a species that could respond with such overwhelming force so quickly. "You should have left us alone," Maya said quietly. "We were content to expand slowly, peacefully. But you made us look to our defenses. You made us innovate. You made us angry." The ship shuddered again as the human boarding craft attached themselves to the hull. Cutting tools began slicing through the outer plating. "What's happening here?" Maya continued, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. "It's just the beginning." For the first time in his life, High Marshal Vrax of the Sarkoth Empire felt something new. Not the caution that had served him well in countless operations, but genuine fear, because he recognized the truth in the human's words. This wasn't just a rescue mission. This was the beginning of a war. A war his people had unknowingly started against an enemy whose capabilities they had fatally underestimated. The first explosion rocked the bridge as human soldiers breached the outer hull. The last thing Vrax saw before emergency bulkheads slammed down was Dr. Maya Chen's face, calm and resolved, as she whispered, "Humanity is coming." The message received, 8 light-years away, in the fortified underground complex beneath the lunar mare Tranquillitatis, Admiral Helena Reyes stood motionless as the quantum display flickered before her. The underground facility, known only as the cradle to the handful of personnel cleared to know of its existence, housed Earth's most advanced defense technologies. Projects deemed too sensitive even for traditional military bases. "Confirm signal integrity," she ordered, her voice calm despite the implications of what they were witnessing. Commander Jackson, head of QEC operations, nodded sharply. "Signal is pristine, Admiral. Quantum entanglement holding at 99.8% coherence. We're getting real-time feed from Kepler Station." On the main display, the attack unfolded in horrifying clarity. Strange insectoid creatures methodically rounding up colonists. Research facilities being stripped of equipment. The entire settlement being systematically dismantled. "They're harvesting them," murmured Dr. Emiliano Vega, the project's lead scientist. Just like the others. For 7 years, they had been gathering evidence of the mysterious disappearances on the frontier. Outposts going silent. Colony ships vanishing without distress calls. When investigation teams finally arrived months later, they found empty settlements, stripped of resources and people. Official reports blamed everything from piracy to mass desertion. But Admiral Reyes had suspected something far worse. As former head of Frontier Security, she had convinced the United Earth government to authorize the Sentinel program, a classified initiative to develop technologies that could overcome the fundamental limitation of human space defense, the tyranny of distance. Conventional faster-than-light travel still took weeks to reach the frontier. By the time any distress call arrived and help was dispatched, it was invariably too late. The quantum entanglement communicators were phase 1 of the solution, allowing instant communication regardless of distance. Phase 2 had been far more ambitious. "We have positive ID on Dr. Chen," reported Lieutenant Kamala Sharma, reviewing the incoming feed. "She's activated her subdermal beacon. They've taken her to what appears to be their command vessel." Admiral Reyes nodded. Maya Chen wasn't just a xenobiologist. She was one of their best covered operatives, volunteering for the Frontier assignment, specifically to deploy the QEC and gather intelligence if an attack occurred. "They matched the fragments we recovered from Nueva Esperanza," confirmed the xenobiology analyst, comparing the attackers to previous evidence. "Same physiological structure, same harvesting methodology." "Now we know who's been taking our people," Commander Jackson said grimly. Admiral Reyes turned to face the room of officers and scientists, 26 individuals representing the pinnacle of Earth's military and scientific communities. "This is what we've been preparing for. Initiate Operation Thunderbolt." Immediately, the room erupted into controlled activity. For years, they had rehearsed this moment, developed protocols and technologies for a threat most of humanity didn't even know existed. "Alert the RAF fleet," she ordered. "All vessels to immediate launch readiness." The RAF fleet, humanity's secret response to the vanishing colonies. 10 warships unlike anything Earth had publicly acknowledged possessing, crewed by personnel who officially didn't exist, armed with weapons technologies developed in black site laboratories across the solar system. "Ma'am." Commander Jackson approached, voice lowered. "We're still receiving feed from Dr. Chen's implant. The aliens are taking her to some kind of neural extraction device. Can she activate the emergency protocols?" "Already done. Her implant is transmitting everything. Neural scans, ship layouts, their communications. Our translation algorithms are processing it now." Admiral Reyes nodded. Maya had known this was a one-way mission when she volunteered. The quantum implant in her brain would record everything, even as the aliens extracted her memories. On the main screen, they watched as Maya was strapped to an alien device, facing her captors with remarkable composure. Every word of the exchange was being translated and analyzed in real time. When Maya revealed the existence of the quantum communicator, Admiral Rice allowed herself a grim smile. "She's giving us the opening we need," she said. "The first rule of psychological warfare. Let your enemy know they drastically underestimated you." She turned to Fleet Commander Lai Wei. "Status of the RAF fleet. All vessels report ready, Admiral. Full drives charged and synchronized. Strike teams armed and prepared for boarding operations. Prepare jump coordinates. We launch in 5 minutes." As the countdown began, Admiral Reyes moved to a private communications terminal and initiated a secure call to the United Earth Defense Council. Within seconds, the somber faces of humanity's highest military authority appeared on the screen. "The incursion has been confirmed," she reported without preamble. "Kepler Station is under attack by a non-human intelligence. Early analysis suggests they're responsible for the previous disappearances." General Abayomi Okonkwo, chair of the Defense Council, leaned forward. "You're certain?" "Beyond doubt, sir. We have real-time feed from the quantum beacon. Dr. Chen has already been captured, but her implant continues to transmit." "Then we're authorizing Thunderbolt," Okonkwo said after a brief pause. "Full operational discretion granted. The RAF fleet is yours, Admiral. Bring our people home." And the wider response. "The Defense Council will notify world governments once your operation is underway. The public announcement will follow your initial engagement." Admiral Rice nodded. For 7 years, only a handful of people had known about the true purpose of the advanced weapons research, the massive resource allocation to secret shipyards in the asteroid belt, recruitment of elite personnel. Now, humanity would learn not only about the threat they faced, but about how their leaders had prepared for it. "Good hunting, Admiral," Okonkwo said finally. "Make them regret ever touching the human colony." The communication ended as Commander Lai approached. Final preparations complete. Strike teams in position. Full drive calculations verified. Admiral Rice turned to the operations center, where dozens of officers waited for her command. On the main display, the alien ship holding Maya was now frantically attempting to retreat. "Too late," she murmured. Then, louder, "Launch RAF fleet. Execute full jump on my mark." In the hidden docking bays beneath the lunar surface, 10 warships, each the culmination of technologies developed specifically to counter the alien threat, powered up their revolutionary propulsion systems. Conventional FTL drives worked by warping space around a vessel, creating a bubble that allowed faster-than-light travel while technically obeying relativistic physics. The fold drive, however, operated on an entirely different principle. It didn't move through space at all. Instead, it temporarily folded spacetime itself, bringing 2 distant points into momentary conjunction. "Fold drives at full charge," reported the chief engineer. "Coordinates locked on Dr. Chen's quantum signal." Added navigation. Admiral Rice took a deep breath. Humanity had been patient, gathering intelligence, developing technologies, preparing a response that would change the balance of power in their corner of the galaxy forever. "Execute fold jump," she commanded. In the space above Luna, reality rippled as 10 vessels, sleek, predatory shapes of dark composite materials and advanced alloys, simply vanished, leaving behind only a brief distortion in the fabric of spacetime. 8 light-years away, they reappeared simultaneously, surrounding the alien harvester ship in a perfect tactical formation, weapons already locked on target. Admiral Rice stood on the bridge of the flagship Nemesis, watching as the alien vessel appeared on the main view screen. Her expression hardened as she saw the evidence of their harvesting operation. Collection pods filled with human colonists in suspended animation, mining equipment stripping resources from the settlement below. "Open communications," she ordered. "All frequencies, translated into their language patterns based on Dr. Chen's data. When the channel opened, she spoke with cold precision. "Alien vessel, this is Admiral Helena Reyes of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your attacks on human colonies end today. Your ship is disabled. Your harvesting operations are terminated. Prepare to be boarded." As she spoke, specialized EMP weapons fired from the Nemesis, targeting the alien vessel's propulsion and weapons systems with surgical precision. Within seconds, the harvester ship went dark, drifting powerless amid the human fleet that had appeared from nowhere. "Launch boarding teams," she ordered. "Priority 1 is recovering our people. Priority 2 is securing the command crew for interrogation. I want answers about where they've taken the others." As the strike teams deployed, Admiral Reyes studied the alien ship with clinical detachment. These creatures had believed humans were easy prey, isolated pioneers who could be taken without consequence. They were about to learn how catastrophically they had miscalculated. From the tactical display, she watched as Earth's special forces breached the alien hull at multiple points simultaneously. The operation proceeded with ruthless efficiency, the result of years of training against simulated opponents based on fragments of evidence from previous attacks. "Boarding Team Alpha has secured the prisoner holding area," reported Commander Jackson. 57 colonists recovered alive. Medical teams responding. "Team Delta has reached the bridge," added Tactical. "Resistance is minimal. They appear to be in shock at our arrival." And Dr. Chen. "Team Bravo has her location. Extraction in progress." Admiral Reyes nodded, satisfaction flowing through her. Phase 1 of Operation Thunderbolt was proceeding exactly as planned. The aliens had expected to harvest an isolated colony and disappear without trace, as they had done many times before. Instead, they had finally revealed themselves to the one colony equipped to respond immediately. "Admiral," the communications officer interrupted her thoughts, "we're detecting encrypted transmissions from the alien vessel. They managed to get a burst message out before the EMP hit." "To where?" "Unknown. The signal used some kind of subspace channel our sensors can't fully track." Admiral Reyes considered this development. "They're calling for help," she concluded. "Good. Let them bring reinforcements. Each ship we capture brings us closer to finding the rest of our people." On the tactical display, the boarding operation continued to unfold. Earth's special forces moved through the alien vessel with practiced precision, neutralizing resistance, securing prisoners, and gathering intelligence. Years of preparation were paying off in a flawlessly executed operation. "Admiral, Team Bravo reports they've secured Dr. Chen," announced Commander Jackson. "She's injured but stable. They're bringing her to the Nemesis." "Excellent. Have medical prepare for immediate treatment and debrief." 30 minutes later, Admiral Reyes stood in the Nemesis's medical bay as doctors treated Maya Chen's injuries. Despite neural probes and physical trauma, the scientist's eyes remained sharp and focused. "You got my message," Maya said, her voice weak but determined. "Loud and clear," Admiral Reyes replied, clasping the younger woman's hand. "You did exactly what you were trained to do." The quantum beacon performed perfectly. "They've taken so many of us, Helena," Maya whispered, using the Admiral's first name as old friends did in private. "This ship's database, it has records of dozens of harvesting operations. Thousands of humans taken to somewhere they call the processing centers. We need to find them." "We will," promised the Admiral. "This is just the beginning." Maya's eyes drifted to the viewport, where the disabled alien vessel floated amid the human warships. "They had no idea what they were waking," she murmured. "No idea at all." Admiral Reyes followed her gaze, a cold determination settling over her features. "They will soon. The whole galaxy will." On the bridge of the Nemesis, Commander Lai approached with a data tablet. "Admiral, we've completed preliminary analysis of their computer systems. They're part of something called the Sarkoth Empire, a multi-species coalition dominated by these insectoid creatures. They'd been harvesting pre-FTL civilizations for centuries. And our people. We've identified coordinates for multiple processing facilities where harvested specimens are taken. The nearest is in a system approximately 12 light-years from here. Admiral Rice nodded, making her decision. Secure this area. Leave 2 vessels to escort the recovered colonists back to Earth. The rest of the fleet will proceed to the nearest facility. The prisoners, ma'am. Bring their commander to my ready room. It's time we had a conversation about the true balance of power in this region of space. As she turned to leave the bridge, a communications officer called out, "Admiral, we're detecting multiple fold signatures at the edge of the system. More of our ships are arriving." Reyes smiled grimly. Phase 2 of Operation Thunderbolt was beginning. The full deployment of Earth's secret fleet. Across the Sol system, dozens more warships were now activating their fold drives, responding to the confirmation of the alien threat. For 7 years, humanity had prepared in silence. Now, the Sarkoth Empire was about to discover the consequences of their predation. "Send a message to Earth," Admiral Rice ordered. "Operation Thunderbolt is proceeding as planned. The enemy has been engaged. We are moving to Phase 2, location and recovery of all harvested human populations." As the message was transmitted through the quantum network, she added one final line, "and informed the Defense Council it's time for humanity to introduce itself properly to the galaxy." The counterstrike. High Marshal Vrax was half-dragged onto the bridge of the human vessel, his limbs partially immobilized by some form of energy restraint. Through his compound eyes, he observed the alien environment with a mixture of scientific curiosity and growing dread. Everything about the human ship defied Sarkoth intelligence assessments, its technology, its weapons capabilities, and most disturbingly, its sudden appearance through what his science officer had desperately termed spatial folding before being incapacitated by human soldiers. The bridge of the human vessel was unlike the organic, chitinous command centers of Sarkoth ships. It was sleek, precision-engineered with holographic interfaces and stations arranged in concentric rings around a central command area. At its center stood a human female, smaller than most of her subordinates, but radiating an authority that even Vrax, accustomed to the strict hierarchies of Sarkoth society, immediately recognized. "High Marshal Vrax of the Sarkoth Harvesting Fleet," she said without preamble, her words translated perfectly into Sarkoth speech patterns. "I am Admiral Helena Reyes of the United Earth Defense Force." Vrax straightened himself as much as the restraints would allow, his pride still intact despite his circumstances. "How do you know my designation?" "Our species have never formally met." "We know a great deal about you," Admiral Reyes replied, gesturing to a nearby display where Sarkoth fleet movements were clearly mapped. "We've been studying your harvesting operations for years." "Impossible." Vrax chittered, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Our operations maintain the counterstrike." High Emperor Zarkith of the Sarkoth Empire was not accustomed to being awakened during his regeneration cycle. When the emergency alert penetrated his private chamber's security protocols, his first instinct was to execute whoever had dared disturb him. "This had better justify waking me," he chittered as his attendants helped him don his ceremonial armor, the bioluminescent patterns across his carapace pulsing with irritation. Supreme Commander Valkyx bowed so low his head crest touched the polished obsidian floor. "Emperor, forgive the intrusion. We've lost contact with High Marshal Vrax's harvesting fleet." Zarkith's irritation faded slightly. Vrax was one of his most reliable commanders, with over 40 successful harvesting operations to his credit. "Lost contact. Be precise." The fleet was harvesting a human outpost when all communications abruptly ceased. Our long-range sensors detected unusual energy signatures moments before the blackout, signatures consistent with weapons fire. "Humans." Zarkith couldn't keep the disbelief from his voice. "Defending a frontier colony. That's inconsistent with their established behavior patterns." "Yes, Emperor. Intelligence suggests they shouldn't have been capable of responding to the attack." The colony was 8 light-years from their nearest military outpost, with no significant defensive capabilities. Zarkith's secondary brain began processing strategic implications, while his primary consciousness continued the conversation. "Show me the last transmission." A holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. It showed Vrax's bridge in chaos, alarms blaring, officers shouting contradictory orders. Vrax himself appeared unnaturally still, his attention fixed on a human female standing before him. "Fold drives," the human was saying. "They don't just move through space, they bend it." The recording showed human vessels appearing through what looked like tears in space itself, then deploying smaller craft. The transmission ended abruptly as boarding parties breached the hull. "Fold technology?" Zarkith whispered, his voice uncharacteristically uncertain. "Our analysts deemed it theoretical at best, centuries from practical application. Apparently the humans have made unexpected advances," Valkyrie said. "Emperor, there's more. We've lost contact with 3 additional harvesting fleets in the last 12 hours, and 4 of our frontier processing stations have gone silent." Zarkith's bioluminescence flared with alarm. "They're striking back already, without a formal declaration. It appears the humans do not share our protocols for warfare, Emperor." A new voice joined the conversation, smooth, cultured, and dripping with superiority. "Did you expect them to send a diplomatic communique before responding to our activities?" Strategic Overseer Nyx glided into the chamber, her ceremonial robes flowing around her slender form. As head of the Empire's intelligence apparatus, she was one of the few permitted to speak candidly to the Emperor. "You were supposed to understand these creatures," Zarkith accused. "You assured me they were primitive, predictable." "I was wrong," Nyx admitted without shame. "They concealed their true capabilities masterfully. The question now is how we respond." Before Zarkith could answer, another alarm sounded. A junior communications officer burst into the chamber, forgetting to prostrate himself in his panic. "Emperor, High Command, we're receiving a transmission from the humans. They've bypassed all our security protocols. It's broadcasting on all frequencies throughout Sarkoth space." The holographic display shifted, and a human face appeared. Female, dark-skinned, with sharp eyes that seemed to pierce through the projection. "Attention Sarkoth Empire," Admiral Helena Reyes said, her voice steady and cold. "This message is being transmitted to every world, station, and vessel in your territory. My name is Admiral Helena Reyes of United Earth Defense Command." The view widened to show Reyes standing in what appeared to be a military command center, surrounded by grim-faced human officers. "For years, you've been attacking our frontier settlements, killing our people, taking our resources. You thought yourselves hunters and us unwitting prey." Her expression hardened. "You were mistaken." The display split to show footage from what was unmistakably Vrax's vessel. Humans in combat armor moving methodically through the corridors, overwhelming Sarkoth resistance with shocking efficiency. "We've known about your harvesting operations for years," Rice continued. "We allowed them to continue while we studied you, learned your tactics, mapped your territory, identified your weaknesses." The footage shifted again, showing Sarkoth outposts under attack, harvesting vessels being systematically disabled and boarded. "Consider this your only warning. Withdraw all forces from human space immediately. Release all human captives. Make reparations for the colonies you've destroyed." Supreme Commander Valkyrie turned to Zarkith, his voice urgent. "Emperor, we must cut this transmission before more see it." "It's too late," Nyx interrupted. "They've integrated it into our networks too thoroughly. Everyone in Sarkoth space is seeing this right now." On the display, Reyes's face filled the screen again. "You have 24 hours to respond. After that, we will exercise our right to planetary self-defense by any means necessary." Her eyes seemed to look directly at Sarkoth. "And make no mistake, we know exactly where you are." The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. "Bluffing," Valkyrie said finally. "They cannot possibly know the location of the Imperial worlds. They're trying to provoke a panicked response. Are you certain? Nix asked. Because I'm not. These humans have already demonstrated technology we thought impossible. Who knows what else they've been concealing? Zarkith rose to his full height, his ancestral armor gleaming in the chamber's dim light. Prepare our defense fleets, all of them. I want 3 battle groups around each core world within 12 hours. And our response to their demands. Nix asked. We are the Sarkoth Empire, Zarkith said, mandibles clicking with determination. We have ruled this sector for 2,000 years. We do not bow to lesser species, no matter what tricks they've developed. As you command, Emperor, Valkyrie said with a bow. But what of the human captives from previous harvests? They specifically demanded their return. Terminate them, Zarkith ordered coldly. Leave no evidence. Yet as his subordinates rushed to carry out his commands, Zarkith remained in the chamber, studying the frozen image of Admiral Reyes on the holographic display. There was something in the human's eyes that disturbed him. Not fear or anger, but absolute certainty. 20 hours later, aboard the Nemesis, Admiral Reyes received the Sarkoth response, or rather, the lack of one. Our infiltration drones confirm increased military activity throughout their territory, reported Commander Lai. Defense fleets mobilizing around what appear to be their core worlds, and our intelligence networks are detecting mass terminations at processing facilities. Reyes's expression darkened. They're killing the captives rather than returning them. Not all. Maya Chen interjected, now recovered enough to join the command staff. Only at the facilities they know we've located. They don't realize how extensive our intelligence gathering has been. After the initial strike at Kepler Station, the Wrath fleet had split into multiple task forces, striking Sarkoth outposts simultaneously across a 50-light-year radius. Each captured facility had yielded more data, more coordinates, more understanding of the Empire's structure and operations. Status of the rescue operations, Reyes asked. Task Forces Bravo and Charlie have secured 3 processing facilities, Commander Jackson replied. Over 7,000 human captives recovered so far. Some have been in captivity for years. And the Sarkoth homeworld? Identified. Approximately 30 light-years from our current position. They'd surrounded it with their entire defense fleet, over 300 vessels. Admiral Reyes studied the tactical display, which showed the deployment of Sarkoth forces throughout their territory. They had responded exactly as expected, concentrating their defenses around their high-value targets, leaving their military installations and harvesting fleets to fend for themselves. They think we're just conducting rescue operations, she observed. They don't understand what's coming. Dr. Vega approached with new data. Admiral, analysis of their communications indicates they're dismissing your ultimatum as bluster. Their emperor has ordered all evidence destroyed rather than considering our demands. Reyes nodded grimly. Then they've made their choice. Open a channel to all Earth forces. When the communications officer signaled readiness, she addressed the now expanded human fleet, nearly 100 vessels that had joined the operation in the hours since the initial strike. This is Admiral Reyes to all Earth forces. The Sarkoth Empire has rejected our demands and is eliminating evidence of their crimes against humanity. Operation Thunderbolt now proceeds to its final phase. Prepare for coordinated fold jump to the Sarkoth homeworld in 30 minutes. All vessels will jump simultaneously on my mark. As her orders were acknowledged and preparations began, Maya approached her privately. They still don't understand what they're facing, do they? The scientist asked. No, Reyes replied quietly. They think they're dealing with a conventional military response, ships that need to travel through space, forces that can be tracked and intercepted. They'd never encountered a civilization that could simply appear anywhere, at any time. It's not just the technology, Maya observed. It's the mindset. They've been predators for so long, they can't conceive of becoming prey. Reyes nodded. Their entire strategy is built on isolation and distance, striking targets too far from help to be defended. When distance becomes irrelevant, Their advantage disappears, Maya finished. Commander Lai interrupted with a report. Admiral, all vessels report full drives charged and synchronized. Strike teams prepared for boarding operations. Medical ships standing by for recovered captives. Rise looked around the command center at the officers and crew who represented humanity's response to years of silent predation. For too long, the Sarkoth had harvested human colonies with impunity, assuming distance would protect them from consequences. That age was about to end. Execute the jump, she ordered. Emperor Zarkith stood on the command deck of the Imperial Defender, the largest warship in the Sarkoth fleet. Around him, officers coordinated the movements of over 300 vessels arranged in a defensive sphere around the Imperial homeworld. Status report, he demanded. All battle groups in position, Emperor, reported Fleet Commander Valkyx. No sign of human vessels within sensor range. Their deadline approaches, Nix observed. Perhaps they were bluffing after all. Zarkith was not reassured. Maintain alert status and continue attempts to restore communications with our outer colonies. The loss of contact had spread like a wave from the human frontier inward. Over 30% of Sarkoth space was now silent, with no indication whether the colonies there still existed. Emperor, Valkyx said suddenly, we're detecting unusual energy readings at the edge of the system. Define unusual. Similar to the signatures recorded during Vrax's last transmission, but larger, much larger. Before Zarkith could respond, space itself seemed to tear open thousands of kilometers from the defensive line. Not one rift or a dozen, but hundreds, expanding simultaneously in a perfect sphere surrounding the entire Sarkoth defense fleet. Through these tiers in reality came human vessels, not the handful that had overwhelmed Vrax, but a vast armada. Ships of every size, from nimble fighters to massive carriers and vessels of configurations the Sarkoth had never encountered before. How many? Zarkith whispered. We're tracking over 100 vessels, Valkyx replied, his voice shaking. They've surrounded our entire defensive position. The communications officer turned from his station. Emperor, they're hailing us. On screen, Zarkith ordered, gathering his dignity. The holographic display activated, showing Admiral Rise, now in full military regalia. Emperor Zarkith, she said without preamble, your deadline has expired. We've confirmed the execution of human captives at 7 of your facilities. Did you really think we wouldn't know? How dare you threaten the Imperial homeworld? Zarkith began, but Rise cut him off. We're not here to threaten. We're here to end this, one way or another. Reyes's expression was implacable. You've spent decades preying on what you thought were defenseless human colonies. You've killed thousands of our people, taken thousands more for your twisted experiments. It is the right of the strong to harvest the weak, Zarkith declared. It is the natural order. Is it? Reyes's eyes hardened. Then you won't object to what happens next. The main view screen shifted to show dozens of Sarkoth processing facilities and military installations, all simultaneously under attack by human forces that had appeared from nowhere. Right now, Earth forces are liberating every processing center, research facility, and military installation in your territory, Rise explained. Your harvesting fleets are being disabled. Your captives are being freed. Your empire is being dismantled, piece by piece. Impossible, Zarkith whispered. You cannot be everywhere at once. That's exactly what we can do, Rise countered. Distance doesn't protect you anymore. Nowhere in your empire is beyond our reach. On the tactical display, Valkyx watched in horror as reports flooded in from across Sarkoth space. Installations falling, fleets surrendering, colonies pledging allegiance to the humans in exchange for protection. What do you want? Zarkith demanded finally, the reality of his situation becoming clear. Justice, Rise replied simply. For every human taken, for every colony destroyed. Surrender yourself and your high command for trial under interstellar law. Release all captives from all species. Dismantle your harvesting operations permanently. And if I refuse,